An introduction, John.
I'm not making any introduction.
All right, well, I guess I will. All right, good evening, everybody in Facebook land. My name's Chuck Fagan. This is a very special presentation tonight on the Better Savannah page. We're going to have a very spirited, mature debate between the two candidates running for the 7th County Commission District, incumbent Dean Kicklighter and challenger Orlando Scott. We're going to have this moderated by a guest moderator who's going to set out the ground rules. We appreciate him stepping up to do this for us, Mr. Jeff Reno, a constituent in the 7th District. So without further ado, take it away, Jeff.
Good evening, Facebook people out there for Better Savannah. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to host this event tonight as moderator. I'm very excited because I'm a District 7 resident, and I'm honored to moderate this debate between the incumbent County Commissioner Dean Kicklighter and his challenger, a businessman and faith leader in his church, Orlando Scott. Both candidates were given the questions 2 weeks in advance in preparation for this evening. I'll ask a question, specify the amount of time they have to answer, and I'll allow 30 seconds for rebuttal. There'll be no rebuttals of rebuttals. There'll be no chaos. And if you speak beyond your time through the magic of modern technology, we'll simply cut the microphone off. And if a fly comes in, you're on your own. At this point, I'm going to let the candidates introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Dean Kicklighter. You have 2 minutes, sir. Unmute yourself.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reno. I'm honored to be here. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Dean Kicklighter. I am, as Mr. Reno said, the incumbent county commissioner. I believe it's very important now to have the experience on the county commission that I will bring, because we're facing very uncertain times with the COVID. I believe that we have to keep a fighter in office. At 28 years old, I fought for annexation and doubled the size of Garden City as mayor. I've always fought, and I saw the need for a better commissioner back when I was mayor of Garden City, because we were treated like a redheaded stepchild. And I fought to keep EMS. They wanted to get rid of that when I was on the county, and I fought and won that. I had to fight to keep the handicap bus service for West Chatham County for the 7th District. Thankfully, I won that. I had to fight hard to keep the police department. I won and kept that now. Actually lost it for a while, stayed with the fight, got it righted. I fought and received millions for roads, millions for drainage, millions for parks, millions for libraries. I fought against dumps in the district, won that. I fought against people's driveways being taken away, won that. Last example is, although the site ran a, let's say, less than nice picture, a decent picture of me, which clearly showed bias. And I know the gentleman that operates the site, and we differ politically. And I was more than happy to come on in here and fight for the district, because I believe that our district's the greatest district in the county, and it's worth fighting for.
Thank you, Mr. Kicklighter.
Thank you.
And now we're going to hear from Orlando Scott. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Hey, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Better Savannah, for having me, and thank you, Commissioner Kicklighter, for joining us also. Again, my name is Orlando Scott. I'm the challenger for the 7th District seat in the upcoming election. I do agree with Commissioner Kicklighter when he says this is the best district in the county, and it is. It has so many possibilities, growth, a good place to live, play, and work. We do differ on a few initiatives that, you know, when I'm elected, I really want to tackle, you know, the vision around not just growth for the sake of growth, but also for the vision around infrastructure. As we expand, as we grow, you know, what's the plan around the roads? What's the plan around drainage and sewage and water treatment? All of those things which are the foundation of any vibrant community. I want to be accessible to you, not just in one area, but in all areas. I want to have vision around services for our elderly, for our working class, There's a discussion around mass transportation that I would like to put on the table. Just different visions that I have for this district. So again, I'm excited to be here. Thank you again for having me, and I look forward to a very informative discussion tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. We'll now go to our first question. On September 4th of 2019, the Reuters news agency wrote a scathing expose on healthcare services in the Chatham County Jail. In 30 months, 7 inmates died, and recently there was another death in the jail. As far as I know, there's been no explanation given as to what happened in the last case. Did you read the Reuters stories, and would you support a grand jury investigation involving all healthcare providers in the Chatham County Jail? Mr. Scott, we'll start with you in 1 minute.
Yes, I did. The issues around the deaths in Chatham County, in the Chatham County jail system, is very disheartening. So in 2016, I believe the county brought in an independent investigator to look at the occurrences that were going on before. So the prior 30 months, there were, I believe, 7 deaths in the county jail. We also changed healthcare providers, which that's a whole nother topic there. But I guess the issue with me, when we brought in this investigator, and he went through everything, all the infractions, he talked about the staffing shortages, the unclear health guidelines, failure to prescribe inmates medication. When he went to ask the sheriff to open the books for Correct Health and RX Pharmacy, that's when he was ran off. And I think that's when the relationship went bad. And, just a lot of uneasiness, in my opinion. And since then, and since this investigator, we've continually had death, even this year. With the most recent incident where we lost 5 employees from the sheriff's office for different things. So it's very disheartening. A grand jury investigation, I'm not sure, but we do need to dig further. If the sheriff is going to stand behind this healthcare company, he has to speak to that. And I think we need to put more options on the table.
All right, Mr. Scott, your time's run out. Dean, you have 1 minute. Same question. Dean, can you unmute? Please unmute.
Chair muted me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry, y'all muted me. Actually, I want to just start out and say that having any deaths in the jail is a sad thing, and I sincerely feel for the families and extend my deepest sympathies to them. But as you, I'm sure, are very much aware, Mr. Reno, having served as a Chatham County Commissioner, because of the potential litigation, as much as I would like to comment on this, with pending lawsuits or potential lawsuits coming, I can't comment on this at this point. I would love to, and again, to the families, I'm very, very sorry for your losses. And I also want to add one more thing. When it comes to the sheriff, I would like to say that he is a constitutional officer. So some of the things spoke of before possibly can't be addressed by us because we don't have the authority to do so. But he's elected by the people, and he's the one that's elected in or out to do the job there. But I can't comment on any specifics of that. Thank you.
The purpose of the question to ask a grand jury was because I know the county commission's hands are tied. And actually, the first Supreme Court Justice, John Jay, wrote, the jury has a right to judge both the law as well as the fact and controversy. And a grand jury could investigate where a county commission could not. We'll move on to the next question. The county chairman and the mayor of Savannah are limited to 2 terms. Almost every city council candidate campaigned on bringing about term limits, 2 terms, to city council, and are actively working to implement this pledge. Whether 2 terms or 3 terms, do you see this as a good policy for Chatham County government? And will you support term limits? 1 minute for each, and I'll start with Dean.
Thank you, Jeff. One thing you hear nowadays is something about career politicians. I'd just like to make it very clear that there are no career politicians on local levels because the money is not there to fund their life. I own 2 businesses. I've worked the entire time I've been in politics. Heck, I even served for free as mayor of Garden City and mayor pro tem of Garden City. So this career politician thing goes up to the federal levels where it actually, they make a fortune. Now, it's on this level, you don't have to raise $1 million to unseat a county commissioner like you do on the federal level. And I mean no disrespect, because I truly don't mean any disrespect. But Mr. Reno, as you saw, as well as Mr. John McMasters that owns this site saw, the people will term limit a county commissioner. You both lost your elections on the county commission, so you didn't have to have term limits set by the commission. I'm honored to be working. We can't get enough good volunteers to help out nowadays, especially with the nastiness of politics nowadays. So if you start limiting people that actually are good folks, I mean, I rarely can find people to volunteer for the boards that we have all the openings on. So I believe term limiting good able-bodied people is not necessary because the people will term limit a commissioner when they want another commissioner representing them. And again, I don't mean it offensive, but as both of you know all too well. So I don't believe it's necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Kickleiter. I'm feeling like Chris Wallace all of a sudden. Orlando
Sorry.
Scott, you've got 1 minute, sir.
So my stance on that is there should be term limits. And I've said this from the beginning, that the way you govern is totally different if you know you're going to be in office for a certain period of time and you're going to leave. And I firmly believe that is true. I think you make tougher decisions. I think the chance of complacency that sometimes will set in is less likely. And there's this sense of what I would call entitlement when politicians sit in a seat for a long time. So yes, term limits for the county, two terms for the chair, 3 terms for the commissioners.
30-second rebut.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, tougher decisions. If anybody's watched the news in Chatham County for the past 20 years, you'll realize it's me that they come to. I've been the face of the county for 20 years because I am not shy to make the tough decision. I stand behind them, and I proudly stand behind any decision I make because that's what the people elected me to do. I'm not entitled for anything whatsoever. I'm honored and I'm privileged to have been elected by the people to work for them for all these years. So make no mistake about it. What you said, I'm sure applies to many politicians, but it does not apply to this guy. I'm only a politician because I won the elections. I despise the concept of what the stereotype or whatever a politician is. I'm not one, but because I actually won, you can call me one. But I'm a regular guy that holds the title that will fight like crazy for the people of the district.
Mr. Scott, unmute yourself, 30 seconds.
So Commissioner Kickleiter called himself the Tom Brady of commissioners a few months ago. I thought it was great.
That was fun. That was good.
Actually, and that's the attitude that you get when you sit in office so long. But I tell you, Tom Brady was voted out of New England last year. They brought in Cam Newton, and we're going to the Super Bowl, baby.
Good response. That was good.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Next question. If the state changed the law where counties could charge more penny sales tax collections, would you support an equalized homestead option sales tax called an e-host? It guarantees that 100% of the proceeds go towards property tax relief for all residents of Chatham County with a homestead exemption, whether inside or outside the city limits. 2 minutes for each person, starting with Mr. Scott. Please.
Absolutely, I would support that. So basically, you give relief to the homeowners where you're not charging them higher taxes, and you put that penny, you spread it out throughout the county. So visitors pay, residents pay. You help with roads, especially in District 7. There's so much growth and there's so much infrastructure work that needs to be done with that growth. And I just think it makes sense. You look at what they did in DeKalb County. They're giving $119 million of tax relief, and that equates to about $994 per resident that owns a $250,000 resident. So it makes sense, or do a T-Splosh. Either or, I think, is a great idea, and I like it.
Thank you. Mr. Kicklighter, 2 minutes. Dean, please unmute yourself. Sorry, sir.
Thank
There
you.
go.
All right.
Okay, prevent the feedback while you guys are muted on each other's responses, by the way. So just pay attention. Sorry.
All right. Thank you. I believe that a sales tax is the fairest tax of all taxes. So I absolutely believe that I would support something like this. I mean, it would be the best, most fair way to tax people. I believe in Chatham County, more than 50% or around 50% of the revenues comes from people living outside the county. So what we're able to do with that is we're able to actually receive monies from people that work here, but they don't live here and pay taxes here. So they help repair the roads and everything that they help tear up driving back and forth on. So I think that's a very fair thing. I'm going to use some of my time here to just let him know that when I claim to be the Tom Brady of the county commission, I wasn't claiming to be the GOAT. I actually just meant I've been there many years and I'm still very effective. I don't necessarily say I'm the best. I will say I'm the most financially conservative commissioner possibly of all times, other than possibly Mr. Reno right there that's hosting this meeting. He and myself, I believe, are the two most conservative, financially conservative commissioners to have ever served. And I believe that's very important. And I believe it's going to be super important with the deficit that we'll be facing coming up here because of COVID. I believe there's a very good chance we're going to. And I've been there to make those tough decisions, the tough cuts. And I'm more than willing to do what it takes to make those cuts again, because I don't believe we can overtax the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Next question. In SPLOST 7, which voters approved last November, Chatham County is scheduled to receive $216 million. However, the county did not include any funding for affordable housing. Why not? Savannah included $10 million from its SPLOST share of $165 million. Would you work to see some funding for affordable housing is included in SPLOST 8? If so, which affordable housing initiatives do you think will work? And we have 3 minutes to answer the question. We'll start with you, Dean. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reno. Unfortunately, this question is a moot point because it was a 6-year SPLOST that was passed. So the winner of the 2024 election will actually be dealing with this, not me or Mr. Orlando Scott, unless one of us is fortunate enough to actually be the commissioner coming then. So again, this question is a moot point. However, to better understand why that could possibly happen with your question, one needs to understand SPLOST laws and local option sales tax laws. The laws, they do not allow the county, Chatham County or any county in Georgia, to collect SPLOST revenues or lost revenues for people living in our county in the unincorporated areas. So those unincorporated area residents, they're pretty much just, sorry for the lack of a better word, but they're pretty much screwed because of the state law, because we can't collect the money for them as the cities collect for their citizens in their cities. Every city gets money specifically designated for them and for their citizens. For Savannah, for their 144,000 residents, they received the money you just stated. Pooler received monies for their 25,000 residents. Tybee did, Garden City, Bloomingdale, Thunderbolt, Port Wentworth does too. But the 100,000 people living in the unincorporated areas, by law, they can't be represented. They received zero. So the county has to actually, with their negotiated portion, take care of what would be the second largest city in Chatham County. That would be the unincorporated city. And they also have to provide projects countywide. So what you have happen there is when you're doing a SPLOST, you have to look at the big picture. Savannah has more homeless people in Savannah than unincorporated area does, and the other cities more than they do. So if Savannah allotted the $10 million, the county, because they can't receive the portion for the 100,000 people versus 144,000, they have to split it up as best possible to benefit those people, but then they have to provide projects to benefit the entire county. So I would say that the commission has to look at what each city actually provided and then pretty much come along and try to patch holes and lead the way as far as roads definitely goes, because SPLOST was originally created just for drainage, and then it was later allowed to go for roads. And so I believe the money's, when you see one area that's mainly housing the homeless, or more homeless people are there, when they put that type of money in there, I believe that you have to take that into account and go from there. If they didn't, then we need to look at possibly providing some to help offset what they did. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kickletter. Mr. Scott, you have 3 minutes. Same question.
Thank you, Jeff. I would support an affordable housing coalition of county and municipal leaders to tackle the problem and the issues that face us today. So if you look at, and Commissioner Kicklight is correct, Savannah does have, I would say Savannah has a poverty issue. So 1 out of every 4 people are living in poverty. So if you're in a group of 4, you can count on one of those persons being living under the poverty line, and that's the issue. But if we're not careful, we're going to bring all of those issues out of our biggest municipal city in the county into these unincorporated areas. I remember living out here, and I'm in West Chatham, unincorporated. When I moved out here 10 years ago, I didn't see any homelessness or people panhandling on the street. And now you're starting to see that on a daily basis. And it's an issue we got to take. County is not giving enough money towards that. And that's definitely something that I want to tackle when I get into office next year.
Dean, go ahead. Rebuttal.
30 seconds. Yeah,
30
please.
seconds.
Moved 10 years ago, partly from the infrastructure and all the improvements that we put in while I was on the county commission, which has made our district explode and become one of the fastest growing districts in the entire country. I'm very proud to have new residents in this area. We went from approximately 30,000 people to 67,000 residents within 10 years. And then we redistricted again. I can't wait to see the new census numbers. I'm very proud, considering you can't control growth if it's going to happen. And because of our location, it's going to happen. You can guide it in the right direction. And I'm so proud of the infrastructure that we've funded, the millions that I brought in to fund the infrastructure in the area to promote the growth, to bring in new, bright, brilliant residents like yourself. And I do look forward to working with you. And no matter what happens here, if I'm the victor, I hope you'll volunteer on one of these valuable committees that I've been needing help on for a long time. Thank you,
Dean. Segueing into the next question, the city of Savannah provides $195,000 for the Homeless Authority, plus dedicated time and SPLOST dollars towards ending homelessness. To date, Chatham County has pledged $50,000. Is this enough money in your opinion? What more or less can be done? You have 2 minutes each, starting with Mr. Scott.
Again, it's not enough money. I think from a county standpoint, we have to look at anti-poverty programs. There are a lot of great apprenticeships that are going on. I can think of the Iron Union, the Carpenters, all of those programs that will help fund a lot of the issues that we have. And again, collectively, we have to, this housing issue, affordable housing issue, has to be a county-wide initiative where cross-functionally, we all got to come to the table, and we got to sit down and figure out how we're going to fix this problem. It can't be just one district. It has to be a collection of all of our county leaders to make it happen. And I think I'm the one. I'm sure I'm the one to make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Dean?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. No, heck no. 50,000, 195,000, that's not enough. That's why I'm so proud that I was able to help champion the $30 million industrial development in the 7th district to help bring high-paying jobs in to help prevent homelessness. I don't believe you necessarily have to just give the citizens fish. You can teach them to fish. And that's what my theory has been. That's why I support the $200,000 for the construction apprentice program. Teach people, train them, give them the training, give them the location, give them the possibilities. Again, that's why this is the fastest growing district, one of the fastest in the United States. We have all that going on here, and I'm very proud of the 30 million just for one example. That's nowhere near the other millions upon millions that I've been able to bring in to try to help teach people to not be homeless, to provide the economic opportunities for them to purchase homes for themselves. Very proud of that. But no, 50,000, 195,000 on face value, definitely not worth, definitely not enough to take care of the homeless people. But again, I like trying to help the homeless people not be homeless on their own. And I believe we have been doing a very good job of putting the infrastructure in place and luring in, bringing in the job opportunities for people and training them to help with the homeless situation that we have here. So, you know, I know you serve on the Homeless Authority, Mr. Reno, but I know you are also a commissioner. Also, you know, there's many levels to helping with something like this, and it's not just one on face value. So I just truly think that we have to look deeper. We're trying to provide jobs to get people from being homeless. That also is helping rather than just donating more money to the Homeless Authority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question. Do you believe it's a conflict of interest to accept large donations from home builders or developers since you regulate their production? Will either of you pledge to not accept contributions from builders or developers? 1 minute from each, starting with Dean.
Thank you. Am I muted?
No, you're
Can you hear
going
me?
good.
Okay. All right. For some people, I believe it might be a conflict of interest, Jeff. I think that some politicians are crooked. Some would definitely, it could be a conflict. But I think that you probably may, I'm not putting that on you, but I truly believe that people know when they donate to me, they know what they're getting. They're just getting an honest, blunt answer, a good, honest opinion, a good, honest vote on whether something is the right thing to do or a wrong thing to do. So I have no problem taking a donation from anyone because I'm going to, when it comes down to a vote, I'm going to vote what the right thing is to do. And if the right thing is to deny that person's request and they don't, you know, see it, then oh well, don't donate to me next time. But no, it's not a conflict for someone, I believe, that has good values and can make the decision for what's truly right, not the political reason of who gave them some donation to help get them elected.
Thank you, Mr. Kickletter. Same question, Mr. Scott. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. I wish I knew what a large donation was because I haven't seen one yet. But no, I don't have a problem with a developer giving a donation or a significant donation to an elected official. I guess my issue would be transparency. So if I'm voting on something, definitely that should be known. And there may be some cases where you may need to recuse yourself. So, I think transparency is the biggest issue versus the donation piece, because it takes money to run campaigns, and as I found out this cycle here, it's very expensive. So you need help. So, but I think transparency is the biggest key.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
If I may,
Go ahead.
It's not a rebuttal as much as I want to agree with Mr. Scott, and I'm glad he brought it up. If you disclose it and you have the option at that point to either recuse yourself or not, that's the way to go. Just be upfront and honest with the people, and everything's good. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The Port of Savannah accounts for an estimated $30 billion of economic impact in our state and region, yet beyond a number of good jobs, the port does not help the county municipalities offset the cost of congestion, road wear and tear, or pollution caused by port activities. Will you commit to negotiating through the state delegation to ensure local direct revenue payments come to Chatham County. 1 minute for each person, starting with Orlando.
Absolutely. We have I believe the second biggest port on the East Coast right now. We take in millions of tons of containers annually, and we're not reaping the benefit off of that. Our roads are extreme wear and tear from the trucking. We have to pay for, thank goodness for the Jimmy DeLoach Highway that we have running through the 7th District going to I-16. It's helped alleviate a lot of that traffic off I-95 and that I-95 I-16 connector, which has been very dangerous throughout the years. So we need to bring Georgia Ports Authority to the table. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen until we turn the State House blue. That's just my personal opinion. But that should be a conversation where we're getting something off those containers that are coming in and out of our ports. It's not enough just for jobs, and they provide a tremendous amount of jobs, especially ILA. Shout out to ILA 1414. But we need more. We need more, and it's a fair conversation to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Kickletter, same question, 1 minute.
All right, thank you. First of all, I want to say that can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, John McMaster's just popped up on my screen and scared me, so I'm sorry. All right. All right. First of all, I want to correct you. It's actually called the Georgia Ports Authority, not the Savannah Ports. It's called that because it's mainly located in the West Chatham County cities, as well as its headquarters, and the majority of it's actually there. So it's not the Savannah Ports, Georgia Ports Authority. I'm going to read a quote from the Atlanta Constitution, and I'm kind of glad that my opponent, Mr. Scott, brought up the dangers. When commenting about all the deaths on I-16, Chatham County Commissioner Dean Kickletter said, quote, "It's time to throw the dog a bone. He wants to see barriers set up that would prevent accidents like Vincent's, where the vehicles cross the medians, causing collisions and deaths." I've been raised in hell, absolute hell, with the Ports Authority. I brought them to the table many times. I was able to lead the fight to get them to actually construct a $400,000 barrier berm in between a residential area when they took the city hall out of Garden City. And as everyone knows now, I'm thrilled to death that the wire provider that I was raising Cain for there is in the center of I-16, I believe, all the way down. My point of all this is I support getting the state to force direct funding to the county, but honestly, I believe that's a pipe dream because in fact, you would have to have a state delegation convince the entire state of Georgia up there, the senators and representatives, to give us part of a significant portion of their state revenues. Right now, we have battled and fought like crazy to get the state to just give the monies to offset the jail costs. It does not happen. So rather than just living the pipe dream, sure, I would love for them to do it, and I want them to, and I'll support it all day long. I'm going to keep fighting like crazy, getting things done, because now you see the widening of the streets are happening. The railing is down the center to keep people from crashing head on. So things can be done on the local level if you're willing to put up that fight and raise some cane and stir it up, even up in Atlanta where they can actually see it. Thank you.
Okay, we lost him.
Huh?
Oh, so Mr. Rayner, if you don't mind, I would say turn the state blue, get a solid lobbyist up there.
Companies in the know. What's that? You want a rebuttal?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Turn the state blue, get a real lobbyist in Atlanta, and you'll be surprised what we can do. Thank you.
Okay. Next question. In the bidding.
Hey, Jeff, I can't hear you. You're going out. Hold on. Maybe that's me. Speak.
No, it's not you, Dean. It's Jeff.
Okay.
The no will submit a lower bid knowing they can use change orders down the road to recoup the actual or inflated cost of doing a project. Would you support changing the scoring process of accepting bids to include considering the number of change orders a company has utilized in the past? 2 minutes for East. We're going to start with Dean
Jeff,
Kicklighter.
you cut out a little bit. Will you repeat the question really quickly?
Yes. In the bidding process for county projects, companies in the know will submit a lower bid, knowing they can use change orders down the road to recoup the actual or inflated cost of doing a project. Would you support changing the scoring process of accepting bids to include considering the number of change orders a company has utilized in the past? 2 minutes for each person, starting with Mr. Kicklighter.
All right, I'd like to say I needed that 2 minutes or 3 minutes on the last answer, but on this one, yes, I would support that, Jeff. That's a good idea and something that I believe we've talked about and tried to make happen way back when. It's a great idea that somehow needs to get in there and get in the plans. It's something that should happen.
Thank you, Mr. Kicklighter. Mr. Scott.
Absolutely. I would totally agree. I think we need, as a county, especially for county projects, to have more focus on local contractors and local builders. I don't think, the previous commission, they haven't met an out-of-town contractor that they didn't like. But we got to bring that money back into the county and help our local workers, our local unions, and make sure that we're getting value for our work, not just the cheapest price, but value. Thank you.
Rebuttal, Mr. Kicklighter, 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. That was a good sounding line, but we do have a policy in place where we have preference of local builders when we do contracts. So just wanted to correct that. There actually is a policy where we prefer the locals rather than out-of-towners.
Thank you, Mr. Kicklighter. Next question, a little bit of background first. Since Chatham County's issued 2,000 building permits in 2019, if the average project was 3,000 square feet, that yields 6 million total square feet. If the average impact fee cost was $2.75 per square foot, that equals 16.5 million in new revenue. So the question is, since 1990, many counties have implemented impact fees on new construction. Would you support impact fees on new construction in unincorporated Chatham County? We'll start with Mr. Scott.
How much time?
1 minute, sir.
I would absolutely support impact fees. I think with all the growth and everything that's happening in West Chatham County, it shouldn't fall on the backs of our taxpayers. I think our developers, especially on the commercial side, should have skin in the game. They need to help pay for. I think about the Class A shopping center that Tanger Outlet houses. I mean, they have 7 more out partials that they're trying to bring in. I mean, we need roads. I don't know how they're going to get out. So we need roads. We need structure around drainage and all of that to make sense of that. So absolutely, impact fees, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Dean Kicklighter, same question, 1 minute.
Thank you. First of all, I'll say that most of that construction he's talking about right there took place in the city of Pooler. So the impact fee would not even apply to that development. Possibly with CETA may have taken that totally off the tax roll, so it wouldn't apply. But I'll admit, when I first read this question, I was pretty much amused because it's kind of a contradicting, hypocritical question, considering seems like 3/4 of this whole thing is about affordable housing. Yet you're asking to support something that will increase the costs of housing. Let's make no mistake about it. You can charge that rich developer more in fees, but all that fee is nothing but a good name for a tax. And that fee/tax will be passed on to a person purchasing that home. You talk about affordable housing, don't jack prices up even more. Houses are expensive enough the way they are. Now, if you looked at it and there's a smaller fee that puts us in line with other surrounding counties, maybe so, but don't go putting fees on that's going to put you out of business and run others away from our county to neighboring counties with less fees and less taxes. Again, no need to jack up prices more, and because that's going to do nothing to help out the homeless problem we have here. We've got to think outside the box. Donating to that wonderful homeless authority is a great thing, but there's many other things we can do to help prevent homelessness, and not jacking up the cost of homes is definitely one of them. Thank you.
I just want to point out, Jeff, that impact fees are not a tax. And it's not me saying that. The Georgia Supreme Court has said that. You know, it is an upfront fee to impact help underwrite the cost of infrastructure growth. I just wanted to point that out. And to your point, Commissioner Kicklighter, our neighbors to the west and to the south in Effingham County and Bryan County both have a more substantial impact fee schedule than we do. So clearly it's common practice policy in those counties.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fact Checker, but I believe their taxes are lower than ours, so we have to have some type of incentive there. And also, what was the first part of that you said?
Oh, just that the Supreme Court of Georgia ruled that an impact fee is not a tax.
Okay, I don't believe.
I'm just saying they ruled that it's not a tax, it's a fee. That's their words, not mine.
All right. Well, technically, you're right. I don't believe that I claimed that it was a legal tax. I said it's a fancy word for a tax, but legally, it's not a tax. But when you're charging people more money, that, in my opinion, is a tax. But legally, you're correct, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you, gentlemen. Would you seek legislation from the state government which would give you more oversight over homeowner associations? Often they run over the rights and liberties of people who live within the community. 2 minutes from each person. We'll start with Dean.
Oh my goodness, absolutely not. People actively search to invest what is most people's highest investment in their lifetime in homes that's located in areas with homeowners associations to protect their investments. They look for neighborhoods with strict covenants to protect that because they don't want a swimming pool in the front yard next door. They don't want a trampoline in the front yard. They don't want high grass. Buyers actually, and I'll tell you, buyers actually vote for their HOA board members, and buyers receive a copy of their covenants before even purchasing the home. So others, if they don't want that type of discipline as far as stricter ordinances, they basically just, not ordinances, they're called covenants, but it's in a sense, and I don't want to get legal, the fact checker jump in, but legally it's a covenants, but people opt for that to protect their property value. And if they don't like what they see when they're going to purchase the home, I'd suggest that they find them an area with either less strict covenants or that they find them an area with no homeowners association at all. But I really don't believe that more government is good government. I believe that less government intervention is really the direction we need to be heading in society. I believe big government's too intrusive already. Let the citizens make their choice. I recently bought a home with a homeowners association. I read the covenants before I bought it and moved in, and I'm very pleased. And if I didn't like what I read, I wouldn't have moved here. So thank you.
Thank you, Dean. And now Orlando, you have 2 minutes. Same question.
Yeah, I don't know if I would seek legislation against them. I'm actually okay with HOAs and what the value that they bring, because the purpose is to make sure you keep the value of your house and it doesn't go down. So I don't want anyone, building a pink house next to me with a bunch of pink flamingos in the front yard, so I'm fine with it. And I think there is value in that. So
I think the problem for citizens comes when people go to sell their house and the new person comes along. There's transfer fees from the association. There's all kinds of these hidden fees that pop up at the closing table, which is aggravating the citizens.
Yes.
Well, oh, sorry. I don't know who that was to.
No, both of you. Go ahead.
Mr. Reno, I'd suggest that you get your buyer to request that the seller pay more closing costs. That'll help offset it. It's that simple.
That'll go over.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a common transaction in real estate is for the seller to actually pay X amount in closing costs. It could easily be covered, no skin off of anybody's back there. So that can be done without the government takeover.
Mr. Scott?
I think we have to provide more clarity for the homeowner also, because it can be a little confusing, and we have to make sure that they know what they're getting into. I remember shopping for a house, like I said, when I moved back into town, And there were a couple of communities that I didn't go to because of the same issue that we're talking about now. So just make sure we're providing clarity to the home buyer. And I know that's important to you on your end, Mr. Reno.
And thank you all.
Disclosure, I was a top 5 realtor before Obama came in and the economy went to hell and I had to get out of it. And so I was a realtor.
Thank you, Dean. Next question. Do you support casino gambling in this area? If yes, please explain why. There's no time limit. We'll start with Orlando.
So I don't think we can have a conversation about casinos until we fix the poverty issue in Chatham County. There's studies that suggest casinos that, they bring down, higher crime index, higher foreclosure rates, divorce rates are typically higher, domestic abuse is higher. And if 1 out of every 4 people that live in Savannah and almost 20% rate in Chatham County is living in poverty, I don't see how we could even have a conversation around that at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Kickleiter, same question.
Thank you, Mr. Reno. At this point in time, I wish I had a crystal ball that I could rub and I could hear both sides of the argument for a casino and against a casino, because I'd be very interested to see what the revenues would be projected and which I can imagine some of the negatives that would be, but I would love to see that. But basically, if that were to come up, I would just say that I would have to get all the input humanly possible and get especially input from the citizens. And ultimately, I would try at that point to vote whatever I thought the majority of the citizens in the 7th District wanted me to do. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Next question. County Commission makes 1/3 of appointments of the CETA board. CETA puts together deals to attract new businesses to our county, and these deals are very generous, including Chatham County property tax abatements. The loss of Chatham County property tax revenue is done in exchange for new job creation, but Chatham County never requires an independent audit of the promised number of jobs and salaries. Would you be willing to amend the county ordinance that establishes the interagency powers between Chatham County and CETA to require an annual independent audit of CETA contracts for jobs and salaries created? And would you support making sure the municipalities in District 7 were able to make appointments to the CETA board? 2 minutes for each. We will start with Dean.
Thank you. I don't know that they, being CETA, I don't know that they ever really promised the county a specific number of jobs or a minimum salary level. And I believe that the reason why is probably because they're trying to bring in large employers with large salaries. And they wouldn't want to set minimums up like that could possibly hinder an initial investor from coming in that would actually plan to incrementally increase the amount of jobs and everything else. So, however, I would definitely support some type of method that reports the actual numbers of jobs that's being provided, as well as a clear cut shot at the salaries, like some type of chart showing the salaries, whether you want to call it an audit or what. I would definitely support something in that avenue. And as far as supporting the municipalities, having a spot on the board, the West Side municipalities, I absolutely would. In fact, I even believe that Fort Wentworth, which is not in the 7th District any longer since we've been growing so much, we lost them. They should actually have a seat on this board, as well as Garden City and Fuller and Bloomingdale, because definitely all of this development, we're bringing that development out here to West Chatham County. We're receiving the beauty and the brunt of it all. So they definitely need to have seats on that board.
Thank you, Mr. Kickleiter. Mr. Scott, same question, 2 minutes.
Thanks. CETA has been very instrumental in the success of many industries out here, from the ports to logistics to manufacturing to marine and even film and entertainment. Just a shameless plug. I was in a couple of episodes of Council of Dads that showed on NBC this year. So it's a very cool and unique experience. So there is value in CETA, but I absolutely agree. If they promise to bring X amount of jobs and with X amount of salaries versus the tax abatements that they're going to get, then we should be able to audit them and make sure that they are delivering on their promise. So I have no problem with the independent audit with CETA, and just to make sure that they're doing what they're saying they're going to do.
Go ahead, Dean.
Orlando, that was my favorite show on television. I can't believe it was cut. And what role were you? What part were you?
Oh gosh, I was in the coaches scene doing the homecoming party after the game, and then I also had a scene at the New Year's Eve party. So
best show on TV.
And Savannah looked fantastic. Nobody can deny that.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
All right, we're in the spot now where you get a chance to ask each other a question. I'm going to start with Dean. You can ask Mr. Scott a question.
Okay. Let's see here. How many questions are we getting to ask?
We're just going to do one, Dean.
Okay.
Pick your best one.
All right, let's see. All right. I think Orlando is going to ask me the same question I was going to ask him, so I'll go with this other one then. Orlando, is your question about CAT, Chatham Area Transit? No? Okay. All right. Well, here, I'll do that because I heard you talk about it earlier. Do you believe Chatham Area Transit should be a countywide service? If so, please explain how you could justify forcing a countywide tax on the citizens of the cities when and during the creation of the Chatham Area Transit Charter, all cities were actually given the choice to opt in or opt out regarding the service and regarding the taxing of their residents.
2 minutes, Mr. Scott.
Yeah, I do support a countywide service for mass transit. I think it's ludicrous if we don't bring CAT to the table with all the growth, and we're bringing in all of these jobs and logistics and frontline team members that may not have transportation. It's easy for us, me and you, to look to say, hey, we don't need mass transit in certain areas, but I'm thinking about the entry-level employees that need transportation. You look at Tanger Outlet. It's a 30-minute walk from the nearest bus stop, and we expect $10 an hour team members to get to work. So yes, there's an issue. I wouldn't tax the residents. I would be open to a T-splosh, maybe spread out the love. I mean, we got to figure that out. We got to, work with CAT and make sure we get federal funding to help out the different communities. But it's absolutely needed. I'm not an advocate for sending buses through subdivisions, but we need a conversation around that. So, I would be definitely for that.
So
you get a 30-second rebuttal. Go ahead.
Okay. You said yes, you are, and I read it. You are for forcing the property tax increase on the residents. I mean, that was in the initial.
Unmute yourself, Mr. Scott.
Absolutely not. I never said a tax increase. I said a T-splosh where you tax businesses, restaurant sales tax increase. So a T-splosh, not a property tax increase.
Okay. Well, in the 30-second whatever, I just want to state that I'm all for allowing the mayor and councils of the cities to request from their citizens if they wanted to put something on the ballot. But I believe it's up to the cities to make that choice of whether or not they want their citizens to vote on something like that. I'm not at all for forcing the service on the cities, because when it was charted, the law said that they could opt in or out. And, so again, I'm not for forcing it, but thank you.
Okay, Mr. Scott, your chance to ask a question.
Oh, can I rebuttal that?
Go ahead.
So that's his prerogative, but someone has to speak up for the least of these. And when no one's speaking up, there's a need. There is a need. You know, and if you listen and get out into the community and go out into these unincorporated areas, there's a need for transportation. And even in our unincorporated areas, even in District 7, it's not about forcing. I agree, give them an opportunity to vote, but at least let's get it on the table. That's my point.
Go ahead, Dean. This is it. Last one.
I will say that we on the commission, the way the Chatham Area Transit is structured, the initial structure and all, we do not make that decision anyway. It has to go through the state for anything to be forced. So we are more of the recommending, you know, we're actually technically no more than a citizen putting our will out there. So I just wanted to make that clear that it is the state that ultimately makes that decision. So thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Scott, please ask your question of Dean.
So, you know, Commissioner Kicklighter, and you touted all of this growth in District 7. And that's been a real talking point for you through this election. What's your vision around infrastructure? I've been looking for the past 6-7 months. I haven't seen anything, nothing on the website. So I just want to hear your vision around how do we, with growth, grow our infrastructure and improve it in District 7?
Well, I believe Mr. Reno can possibly back me on this one. I've been calling for the widening of I-16 for years now. It's finally happening. I've been raising Cain to get the improvements at the intersections. It's happening. I have been in office and actually completed the Pooler Parkway. That Jimmy DeLoach Parkway you were talking about was constructed while I was in office. All of this under me. I foresee a future where I work diligently with the Georgia courts in the state of Georgia, and there's overpasses on Dean Forest Road over the railroad tracks, and that's nothing but another pipeline directly in to the ports to get all that truck traffic off the road. I could go on for hours and tell you the right turn lanes that need to be placed on Highway 80, on Dean Forest Road, on Pine Barren Road, on you name it, throughout the area. I not only have vision, I have a proven track record of bringing millions upon millions in for roads and millions upon millions of dollars for drainage, bringing in millions for libraries, bringing in just more money than possibly most people could believe. I've brought the lion's share of SPLOST monies to West Chatham County, including that $30 million to bring big high-paying jobs into West Chatham County. I would put my record up against anyone, anywhere, and I can't possibly believe there would be anyone that's accomplished more for their district anywhere than I have for this one. And I'm very proud of this record, and we can talk records all day long because my record, I can get beat, but my record can't get beat. I've done one hell of a job, and if I don't tell you that, nobody ever will. If you would have called me and we could have talked, you wouldn't even be running right now. I would have you on a committee getting you ready for later. You need the experience. You're an educated man. I've never met you until tonight. I think you're going to go places. I hope you don't go in my place right now, this place I'm in, but I do look forward to working with you in the future.
Mr. Scott, rebuttal?
No rebuttal. Thank you.
Okay, very good. We're going to take 2 minutes to give you a chance to say your final piece, whatever you want to say. Please give us contact information at the end, like a website, a phone number, Facebook page, whatever, so people know how to get a hold of you. And I would encourage the public to learn more about both candidates, call them up, talk to them. We still have time before the election, but it's very important. People don't realize the value of local office and what it means to your daily life and your quality of life. It's a big thing. So we will start with Orlando. 2 minutes, sir.
Well, thank you again, Jeff, and thank you, Better Savannah, for having me, and Commissioner Kicklighter for being on the platform. I thoroughly enjoyed this lively debate, and I look forward to hopefully a few more in the coming weeks. But I'll leave you with one final thought. With all the growth that Commissioner Kicklighter has talked about for the past hour in District 7, who is truly benefited? I want you to think about that. Who is truly benefited? I can think of the developers. I can think of out-of-town contractors. I can think of big businesses. But you as a citizen, have you truly benefited? I think we've gained increased traffic, drainage issues. I believe our infrastructure is challenged and riddled throughout the district. There's really no affordable housing options that Commissioner Kicklight is even presenting. He clearly doesn't want mass transit in the areas. There's lack of services for our elderly, working class, just a whole array of things. So I want to bring that vision to you. I want to bring and improve the lives of so many residents of District 7. So thank you for having me. My website information is vote for, F-O-R, orlandoscott.com. You can catch me on Facebook or at Orlando Scott for District 7. And again, thank you for having me, and you have a blessed evening.
And you can find my Council of Dads too, right?
And you can find me on the Council of Dads.
That's right. Very good.
All right, Dean,
Thank you.
your
Mr.
final
Reno.
word.
Thank
Go ahead.
you. Who benefits from the growth? Well, I think a lot of us do. I no longer have to drive to Savannah to do shopping for anything. I mean, I grew up here. There was one red light and cooler. There was basically no shopping out here. There really wasn't, other than the major job areas, there was nothing else here. Now, and I'll say this, growth happens when you're located on I-16 and I-95, virtually in the center of the East Coast of the United States between Miami and New York. Growth happens, but you have to have people in office to fight like hell to bring the lion's share of the money in to help improve the infrastructure. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I would venture to say you wouldn't even be living here if it wasn't for the growth, because that is a new area within the last 20 years that you've moved into. And, you know, so we've all benefited. We've gained highly intelligent people that can make a contribution to the area on that. But as far as me, I'm very proud of everything, because when I first took office, we were treated like the redheaded stepchild of Chatham County. Triplet Park had a few portalets and a hole in the ground. Now it's a wonderful multi-million-dollar facility, second to none, not treated like the redheaded stepchild of Savannah. In fact, we're Chatham County's saving grace now. We're not a redheaded stepchild. They now have to acknowledge that we, the 7th District of Chatham County, proudly carries this county as far as increases in property tax revenues because of that new growth. It has offset property taxes for everyone living in the county. So it helps there too. Everyone benefits because of the growth that's happened. Again, if we could put a halt, yeah, I'd say stop. But by law, you have to zone to allow everything. And because of our location being next to Savannah, the most historical, beautiful place around, airport and rail, we're going to grow. You just have to have someone in office that gets it, understands it, and will help keep improving the infrastructure around. A lot of the growth that you were speaking of took place in Pooler, Port Wentworth, Bloomingdale, Garden City, which we on the county commission have absolutely zero authority or ability to oversee. We can't do one thing as far as telling them how to direct their growth, zone their areas, or anything. So all we control in that case is the unincorporated areas, which, you know, again, you live in the area that I'm very proud developed. And my own daughter lives out in that area, wonderful area. But that developed since I've been there. And in part, without the infrastructure and everything that I've been able to bring the money in and put in place. I mean, one good thing, Dean Forest Road 4-lane under one of my things on SPLOST. The widening now on Quaco under me. I mean, you talk roads, man, I'm the one that got the road going. Benton Boulevard's going to go to Highway 30 to help connect and eliminate some of that congestion. I'm here for the fight. Again, I wish you and I would have talked earlier, but I can tell we're going to be friends. You're a good man, and I've enjoyed this tonight too.
I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into this special presentation of Better Savannah. We owe John and Chuck a debt of gratitude this whole election season, from the primaries right through to the election, having brought to the forefront issues that concern the citizens of Chatham County that would not have been asked by the Savannah Morning News, would not have been asked by WSAV, but are very important. So again, look into the backgrounds, check out their agendas and their platforms, and vote. Vote, vote. Don't vote early and often, just vote once.
If I may, Jeff, I just want to tell my my buddy John McMasters, next time when he wants someone to debate, maybe he shouldn't endorse the guy's opponent and pay for advertising for the opponent before he asks him to do a debate on his own site. Again, I'm up for the fight, and I'm gladly here. You've done an excellent job. Thank y'all. Look up Dean Kicklighter on Facebook and follow me, please. And
Okay.
yell at me. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I want to appreciate all of you. Jeff, thank you for moderating this for us. You make some very fair points, Commissioner Kicklighter. I very much gained respect for you for doing this debate tonight, this forum. As the longest serving commissioner, you definitely you at least to me, opened yourself up to a few new ideas. So I guess old dogs can learn new tricks in that regard. But most definitely, we're really looking for change here in Chatham County, kind of regardless of party, and more so about what's the best practice here. So,
well, hey, I am the second youngest guy on the county commission, so I'm not an old dog. I'm just an experienced young dog.
I hear that's a very good point. I do want to point out to both of you gentlemen, this was a very spirited and lively debate, but was an actual debate and was not an embarrassment to civic dialogue. So I want to thank both you, Commissioner Kicklighter and Orlando Scott, for joining us this evening. As everybody has said, the election is underway. Early voting starts next week. There are multiple locations throughout the county. If you don't want to have to look up if your ballot has gone through the mail every day between now and election day. But with that, I'm going to take us off of Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us this evening, and get out there and vote.
Thank you.